Oh, welcome back, Cowboys Nation. We've got Bennett and we've got David, aka Burke and Spanky today. Stu's AWOL. He said to call him because Baylor basketball has a really intense game against Nichols State right now. And he said to call him and we can't locate him. Tale as old as time, but um, Burke and Spanky are here. There's no need to fear. And we're going to be going and we're going to be recapping the Thanksgiving game against the Commanders. Happy belated Thanksgiving, by the way. And we're also going to be previewing the Thursday night football game against the Seattle Seahawks, which is coming up in just 2 days from now, or maybe tomorrow, depending on when this video ends up going out. Um, but with that being said, I guess we need to start off with talking about the Thanksgiving game, and I'll just start um, with it's not even really a question. It's more of just a statement and just doubling down and maybe even tripling down on something that we've been talking about the last couple of weeks. But Deron Bland is the best cornerback in the NFL.
Yep. We
Yeah,
were on that early too.
yeah, we were. Um, Also, disclaimer: the whole Josh Dobbs is elite. Yeah, we tweeted it out last night during the game, but yeah, surprise, it was a bit. Get over it.
Yeah.
He's
Grow
clearly not
grow
an
up.
elite. He's
Grow
clearly
up.
not an elite
Honestly.
quarterback. Obviously,
Grow
he
up.
not his day yesterday. Clearly, he's not an elite quarterback. You're foolish to think that we would ever legitimately believe that. So we just wanted to get out there and get that on record. Um,
Absolutely.
but one thing that we definitely want to make sure that we have on the record is, dude, the Cowboys are rocking and rolling right now, Spanky.
Yeah. So some of the viewers might not know. Shout out our AWLs, but I was in Jamaica for the last two Cowboy games. Didn't time that trip well. If they were better games, that would have been an issue. But I've actually had to watch them on Stream East and all of that. So don't sue me, Mark Cuban. If you see this, um, congrats on the sale of the Mavericks.
Yeah, big
Um,
time.
yeah, but I mean, it's a tale old as time. Thanksgiving tradition. Cowboys got to play. Um, Honestly, at first, I think we didn't score our first drive. I
We
forget what
went
happened.
we went 3-and-out.
Yeah, at first I'm like, oh shit. Like every Cowboy fan had that Thanksgiving PTSD where we're like, oh fuck,
Yeah,
like here
like
we
oh
go.
shit, here we go
Like
again.
this
Yeah.
3 games in 18 days. Like we're overlooking to Seattle. Like DeVito beat this team last week. There's not a chance like we care about this game.
Right.
Like that. Those thoughts were slipping into my head. The pina coladas did me no favors in having those thoughts enter my head. But thankfully, obviously the box score reflects. It was just absolute carnage. Yeah, number 4 is playing at an MVP level. Number 26 has a jersey or cleats going to Canton, Ohio.
Maybe both.
Overall, yeah. I actually, during the Sounds of the Sideline, Brandon Cooks said the NFL is going to call about your jersey. Don't give them that. Don't give them that shit. Like, keep it, which I thought was pretty funny. But
That is funny.
yeah, it was just a great game overall. Tony Pollard finally ends his touchdown drought,
Hmm.
which is I mean, everyone's human. We got to know when we need to pick and choose these little morale victories. So just getting him a little more confidence, definitely amazing. Shout out Jonathan Hankins on defense. He got himself a pair of sacks. I think actually 1.5 sacks as if the box score. I remember the box score correctly. And just overall, just a hell of a game. Um, Love seeing the Turpin usage.
Yep.
Love the way that one of our biggest pet peeves, and not to beat a dead horse with kind of where our offense was at the beginning of the season, was Dak isn't playing that backyard football where he gets out of the pocket, scrambles, improvises, and finds a wide receiver downfield, makes a play with his legs, whatever the case may be. He's doing that now at honestly the number either 1 or 2 quarterback in the NFL at this current moment in time's level. Um, and honestly, I'm sorry, Mike McCarthy. I'm sorry for you having a little rust at the beginning of the season with the play calling, but this offense has completely revamped since that San Francisco game, since our bye week. We've just been another beast. And
Mhm.
can't help but laugh a little when you watch Chargers games and find an offense that has no identity, because that Tex Coast identity sure is fitting right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I mean, I really couldn't have said it much better myself. Like you said, shout out to TP finally breaking that touchdown-less streak, that scoreless streak. I know, especially for a guy like him, that's definitely got to mean a lot, especially in a contract year. And shout out to Big Hank, man. You said it, but dude, he's been like our unsung hero of this season so far. He does not get the love and the credit he deserves. He's been playing great this year, and without him, I mean, this defense would not look as great as it has been. I mean, we got him to be, like our big physical run stuffing D tackle, and I mean, for him to make an impact with, the pass rush and just being able to be there with Micah and with D-Law as well. I mean, it's awesome, dude. So big shout out to Big Hank. And like you said, this offense, they're rocking and rolling. Ford is playing like an MVP right now. 88 has kind of, not necessarily like tailed off. But I mean, he's not putting up those, insane numbers, but we haven't needed him to. Brandon Cooks is continuing to find himself a bigger and bigger role each week, continuing to carve out a bigger role in this offense, which I love. It's insane that, you know, it took us like 8 weeks to figure out that a guy that's been 1,000-yard receiver on like 4 different teams could have that same, quality and production when actually utilized correctly.
Yeah,
And especially letting him be like our speed and downfield threat. Like he's been awesome. He's been stepping up a ton. Um, and also something else that kind of has flown under the radar. I think this was the fourth straight game. I think that Jalen Tolbert outsnapped Michael Gallup.
yeah, yeah.
So, and Tolbert has been getting some looks too. Shout out to him. And yeah, like I said, shout out to Dak. 10 different Cowboys receivers on the day caught a pass from him, including Jalen Brooks, who had that crazy circus catch on
Oh
that
yeah.
touchdown drive at the end of the first half, which was awesome. And I remember telling my dad this during the game, but that last drive that the Cowboys put together right before halftime, that was their most impressive drive of the season, without a doubt. They drove like 75 yards in, I think they had like a minute 40 or something, and they only took up like a minute 6 to drive the length of the field and get a touchdown. It was really, really impressive. They've been doing just some great stuff, and it all starts with Dak. I think even right now, I think he's like fifth in MVP odds or something like insane. Um, maybe,
Criminal. And
yeah.
it's I don't want like the cowboy biases to come out, but th- it doesn't take a rocket scientist or a diehard NFL fan to really realize that this MVP race is kind of lackluster this year, where it's not like one person running away with it.
Mhm.
I know we're obviously biased by this, but I saw a pretty interesting stat that Jalen Hurts has, I think it's 9 rushing touchdowns. And Burke, I'm just going to spitball a number, over under 34 yards.
I think it's on. Well, I think I saw the tweet. Isn't
Yeah.
it like 33 yards or something like that on his 9
33
touchdowns?
yards, 33 yards with 9 rushing touchdowns.
Insane.
Dak has 28 yards on his 2 rushing touchdowns. Um, if the thing is that just kills me, if a casual fan pulling up stats are going to be like, oh my, he's getting so many touchdowns this year. But it's like you gotta, as a DeAndre Swift fantasy owner, like take a look at the stat, like just watch a game when that happens.
Yeah.
Because those are touchdowns we're giving other players. Schoonmaker
Right.
has like 2 1-yard touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
Dowdle, Lipke, Pollard, you name it, we're giving it to other guys. So I just needed to get that off my chest, but
It's a great point.
you are dumb if you don't think Dak Prescott is at least 1B in the MVP voting right now. He is 1B, and that is for sure, non-arguable. He has, I think, out of the last 5 games played, he has thrown for over 300 yards. He's putting up stats that right now, statistically, he's a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes. Now, does he have the same quarterbacking ability as Patrick Mahomes? I'm not going to say it because I love my number 4. But right now, on paper, if you look at the stats, completion percentage, yards, touchdowns, interceptions, touchdown-interception ratio, and you could even factor in drops because I know Kansas City Chiefs wide receivers have been kind of infamous for drops this year. Cowboys have had some drop issues.
For
Cowboys
years.
have also, Cowboys have also not been playing Dak in the fourth quarter, and he's putting up these numbers.
Yep.
So it's like, okay, we could keep him in, and he could have probably 8 more touchdowns on the year. Like, it pains me, but I got that off my chest. But just an interesting stat. Dak Prescott when is the last time? I don't think ever, honestly, but we have a top 3 MVP candidate and 2 of the top 3 depoy candidates right now, and Micah
2
and
of the top 4.
Yeah, but I think this Myles Garrett injury is a little worrisome. Deron Bland's depoy odds got slashed in half overnight. If you haven't seen that, it's down to plus 1100 on DraftKings. But Micah and Myles Garrett are currently tied, and Deron Bland is, I believe, right after T.J. Watt.
He is.
So,
yeah.
I mean, Cowboys are playing phenomenal football right now. We could just keep stat padding CD like the Eagles stat padded AJ Brown, but I mean, CD doesn't need those stat padding games to still have more reception yards than AJ Brown, which is funny. But I guess just to recap, I don't really have more of a recap. If you have more, Burke, by all means, but I would love to get into a real interesting stat before we take on the Seattle game, because I feel like the Seattle game is pretty important and not a lot of people are kind of realizing the significance.
Yeah. I'll let you read off that stat and then we'll do our great, good, and mediocre, and then we'll go to Seattle. What's that stat?
Oh shit, Twitter just refreshed. Give me a minute. There are only 2 defensive tackles who have top 10 grades in run defense and pass defense. So pass rush and run stuff. Dexter Lawrence and Osa Odigizua.
Wow.
I mean, we kind of gave Hankins that unsung hero credit. Osa has been playing out of his mind this year in terms of generating pressure, run stopping ability, and this is only his 3rd year. He wasn't a high taught NFL prospect coming out of UCLA.
Right.
What a great job. And also, I feel like we haven't given the roses to a certain someone yet. Shout out Coach Al Harris.
The GOAT.
2 different all-pro cornerbacks in back-to-back years. Obviously this is a long shot, but I mean, a defensive coordinator job's got to be on the horizon sometime for him if he keeps pumping out defensive backs like this.
100%.
But let's just be thankful because he's instilled a culture in this cornerback room and has pumped out 2 all-pro cornerbacks that are different players in back-to-back years.
Yeah, I mean, we need to thank, as Cowboys fans, we need to thank our lucky stars every day that we still have Dan Quinn and we still have Al Harris, because come this time next year, there's a very good chance that well, I don't want to say very good chance, but I mean, there's a possibility that depending on how this season turns out, that Dan Quinn could be a head coach somewhere and Al Harris could be a defensive coordinator somewhere. Maybe if Dan Quinn leaves, maybe Al Harris gets offered the defensive coordinator job with the Cowboys. That's something that I've seen floated as a possibility. Obviously, that's, a bridge to cross when we get there. Hopefully, if they were to leave, it would be smoothed over with a Lombardi. Um, but again, that's a bridge to cross when we get there. But yeah, I like that you brought that up. Shout out to Al Harris. He's been awesome. Two All Pro cornerbacks, maybe the defensive player of the year if he keeps doing what he's doing. And clearly whatever he's been preaching has been falling on um willing and able ears. Just everyone in that DB room has really been playing awesome. We've been big supporters of Juan A. Thomas on this pod. He's been awesome this year. Jaron Curse silently over the last like 6 weeks since we destroyed him has been playing a lot better. Donovan Wilson finally seems like he's starting to get back to his old self. Malik Hooker's continuing to be really solid. Um, so and definitely a lot of that credit has to go to Al Harris. So
Absolutely. And Marquise
shout out to the
Bell
man.
entered the league as a safety.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he's playing more like a linebacker right now, but can't underestimate the amount of development that Coach Al Harris had for him. But
Yeah.
shifting
Absolutely.
to, or I guess the great good and whatever.
Mediocre.
Yeah, I would say definitely the great has to be number 4 right now. I got to give him his roses again for being such a harsh critic, a harsh but not wanting to critic of Dak Prescott earlier in the season.
It was
Um,
tough love. It was tough
yeah,
love.
I don't want to take all responsibility for him doing so well, but we also called him and his new probably soon to be fiance, but right now
Yeah.
mother of Dak's
Dad
soon
Prescott.
to be girl. Yeah, Dad Prescott. Um, we were pretty early on that train that she would have some superpowers for Dak or give
Yeah.
Dak some superpowers. If you don't know, you could just pull up a photo of her. That's my quarterback's girl, so I'll restrain myself. But like she's giving him some superpowers right now that the other one didn't, and we can't underestimate that. And Dallas Ballers Club was on that first,
We
so
were
that
we were on that early. Yep.
yeah, I think I saw like one comment on Dak's post that he liked, and I'm like, who the hell is this? So I did some digging. If TMZ needs someone, I'm available. But my good will be Tony Pollard. Um, sucks I just traded you in fantasy. Kind of just sitting here regretting that right now. But as a Dallas Cowboy fan who would rather see a Cowboys Super Bowl win than my own fantasy team success, can't help but cheer for Tony Pollard and
Of course.
that significant morale victory of him getting that touchdown. It's kind of like when a shooter gets in a slump or a baseball player gets in a slump of not getting any home runs. Just having that first one go in erases it all. So
Yep.
hopefully that's the case because the run game needs to have a place in this offense. Not saying that Dak's going to come out of this MVP form, but why would we want to put all the stress on him when we can have some of the stress be eased off of him with our run game?
Right.
And then I would say our mediocre.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, it's tough, especially because I watched 85% of these games on my phone on streaming, so that was buffering. So plays got lagged out. Um, I would say our mediocre right now. Can I just say our mediocre like right now, not from the Washington game, would be letting Shaq Leonard walk out of the building and be able to even take a meeting to Philadelphia. As if we needed to go on this tangent. Shaq Leonard is not a Cowboy, hopefully yet, but he had a meeting at the Star today with Jerry and Mike. Jerry made it seem like if he clears that medical, which is more specifically he had 2 back surgeries last year, that we would be interested in him. And as if the Cowboys Eagles rivalry in 2023 needed more spice, then if the Eagles lose next week to the Niners, then just the amount of significance our game has against them, and now adding of what was 3-time All-Pro linebacker in the mix as a late season free agent. It's pretty much unheard of, and just another one of those rivalries that Cowboys and Eagles fans will be talking shit about over the next month or so. But that would be my mediocre, is just letting him leave the Star without ink on paper.
Yeah, I think and we didn't we should have talked about this earlier in the pod, so that's on us. But I'm trying to remain a little more optimistic. I think regardless, he was going to take both meetings, just to at least see what's out there. Guy like him, he wants to play, probably just wants to gauge both situations. But and I'm sure that you feel this too, but I just have, kind of a gut feeling that I don't really know what it is that would make someone pick Philadelphia over Dallas, but it just feels like once Howie Roseman gets within 200-foot proximity of him, it feels like he's gonna be an Eagle. Hopefully we're proven wrong. Hopefully, if Jerry took him out to like Carbone or something nice here in Dallas, took him to a big dinner or big lunch today, gave him some Cowboy Ritas. Hopefully, that can hopefully stick with him, but um, time will tell with that. But for my great, good, and mediocre, so my great, it's going to be the same as it was last week. It's going to be DaRon Bland. Breaking an NFL record, 5 defensive touchdowns through, what is it now, 11 games. It's insane. We had a feeling he was going to break the record. Didn't know it was going to be the week after he tied it. Pretty insane stuff. And he's a great player. He's arguably the defensive player of the year right now. So he's got to be my great. For my good, I'm gonna say the good is gonna be the improved play of the secondary, just from where they were to where they are now. I think we're seeing guys just all over the place. As I already kind of alluded to, Jaron Kearse, Donovan Wilson, Juan Thomas continuing to develop. Stephon Gilmore's been playing a lot better. Even if it's just a byproduct of us not playing great competition, it's still necessary confidence that we're going to need, especially considering our strength of schedule that we have remaining. I think we had the 4th hardest schedule in the league. The rest of the season is what I saw on ESPN today. And I mean, we're gonna need our guys to be sharp. I mean, we're gonna have some tough receiver matchups, even starting with Seattle with DK, with Tyler Lockett, with Jackson Smith and Jigba. We're gonna have to face Tyreek Hill, AJ Brown again, Amon-Ra St. Brown. So we're gonna need our secondary to be sharp, but they've been playing a lot better, so they're gonna be my good. And for my mediocre, I'm gonna say, and this is just from the Washington game. Obviously, the final score, I mean, things got out of hand. I mean, when you're hiding and pre-planning Thanksgiving celebrations with turkey legs, which was awesome, by the way. Extremely disrespectful, but it was awesome. Um, and when you have the luxury of doing that, and when you're beating the crap out of a team and you can do something like that, it's awesome. But Washington kept things close in the first half, and even into like the beginning of the third quarter, they were moving the ball with ease. The Cowboys actually allowed their first 300-yard passer of the year, which is Sam Howell, who finished with literally 300 yards on the dot. So it's not an overwhelming concern, but I just would have liked to have seen a better defensive performance for the first half to three-quarters of the game against Washington. So I'll say that's um, my mediocre. But okay, with all that being said, we need to get into this Seattle preview. We ran a little bit longer than I think than we anticipated on the Washington game, but um, just talking about Seattle, I guess first, do you have any injury report updates or anything like that? Either
Uh,
side?
I know Micah Parsons did not participate and Dante Fowler did not participate
Okay.
for illness reason.
Okay.
So I'm not sure about that. But before we dive into Seattle, I just want to say this is a huge game and a huge test. Some people view Seattle as like not a big threat, but this is a must-win game for Seattle for the sole reason that I believe they play us 49. Their next four games are a gauntlet where they could end up having a losing record at the end of these 4 or 5 games. They play the
They're
Niners
6-5
twice.
right now, so yeah.
Yeah, they play the Niners twice. They play us. Like that could be 3 losses like that.
Well,
And
they
so,
just played San Francisco. I think they play us, and then
Niners,
they play the Niners next
Niners,
week.
us, Niners. Yeah, and this is a must-win game. I've been seeing a lot of reports come out of just players being like, "We need to win this game." But simply put, we haven't been playing well enough. We didn't play well enough last week. You know how teams come out fired up after getting embarrassed. The Niners embarrassed them on Thanksgiving, so unfortunately we have to play a pissed off Seattle team. But I think we match up quite well against them on paper. Just starting off with our offense, the Chiefs' front seven is definitely weaker than their back 4 or 5. I would say.
The
I would say
Chiefs?
the Seahawks. Sorry.
Okay, I
Yeah,
was like, what?
yeah. It's been a long day.
Yeah.
The Seahawks cornerback room is actually just like studs.
Yeah.
And Tariq Woolen and
Devon
uh,
Witherspoon.
yeah, and Witherspoon. So that's going to be interesting. But I think the key of attack for the Cowboys is good old reliable establish the run. Um, I just think just being able to run on them is going to be huge. Uh, Realistically, I don't see us having a blowout game. I know the line has shifted to Cowboys -9.5, which is
It's
just
it's a
nuts.
disrespectful line.
It's nuts. It's nuts.
But
But
we are at home.
yeah, that is true. And like I could totally see us covering it. But yeah, I really am expecting a big game from a run game. Our offensive line has really rebounded over the
Mhm.
past couple of weeks. I'm actually going to have to send Bennett, along with our other two Cowboy friends, some YouTube videos that I watched going to sleep last night about kind of Dak Prescott and the offense, and then a YouTube video that specifically highlighted our offensive line. And for Terrence Steele getting his ass chewed against the San Francisco 49ers and us having Chaz Green Vietnam flashbacks, he's been so damn good. Our whole offensive line has been so damn good. I believe our biggest weakness on our offensive line, unfortunately, is Terrence Steele. But if that's your biggest weakness on an offensive line, you have a pretty goddamn good offensive line. A
Mhm.
lot more teams are in worst case scenarios. Just think Giants, Panthers. Think of even like the Buffalo Bills right now. But good teams need to establish the run. We're gonna start getting colder games. I know we're in Dallas for this one, but having a run game, especially in the cold weather, always helps. Um, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this game. I think they do have weaknesses, but it's up to us to exploit them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think just obviously starting with the offensive side here, the matchup that I'm really intrigued to see is going to be Devon Witherspoon and CeeDee Lamb. Um, Kind of like you said, they have some studs in their secondary. They have Witherspoon. They have Reek Woolen, who's who's really solid. Although he got benched last week, I believe it was like a disciplinary tackling
It's a
issue.
tackling issue. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's I mean a little questionable. But they also have Quandre Diggs. I mean Bobby Wagner is first ballot Hall of Famer. In the middle of that defense, they got Jordan Brooks. I know they spent some money in the offseason on their D line, brought in like Draymond Jones and someone else. I can't remember who. Um, but they're not the Seattle Seahawks of old with the the Legion of Boom defense, but it's not a defense that you can necessarily overlook either, like the Giants or like the Patriots. Like it's they're a very quality team on that defensive side of the ball, and I'm really intrigued to see how we line up in terms of snap counts. Um, just because with Witherspoon and with Woolen, with a guy like Diggs who can play in the slot, and you've got Blitz boy Jamal Adams. I mean, this is a defense that has names. Witherspoon has arguably put himself in potentially the front running for defensive rookie of the year to this point. He's been really, really good. Kind of gives you like old Seattle flashbacks almost to like a Richard Sherman kind of corner. Like he's really physical. He's not afraid to hit. Um, we saw him in that Monday night game. I think it was against the Giants. He kind of had his coming out party. He was all over the field, just playing really physical. And against a guy like CD who kind of has a skinnier slider build, it'll be interesting. Tariq Woolen on the other side, I mean he's a blazer. He's got 4.2 something speed. Um, but it'll be interesting. And I think as you said, all reliable. It, it you got to win in the trenches. I mean, sounds like an easy cop out, but it's the honest truth. We have to win this game. Um, I don't want to have to make Dak throw the ball 40 times. I know that if he has to, he can do it. But with it being a Thursday night game, granted, it's not on your typical 4 days rest like it was last week. Like, I mean, you have a week to prepare for this game, thankfully. Finally getting to that tail end of that 3 games in 11 days stretch. But really just would like to see a solid performance out of the run game. I think this is a kind of game where we might see some more Rico Dowdle, just more of
Hmm.
that physical downhill runner, really trying to wear him down, especially those linebackers like Bobby Wagner, like Jordan Brooks. Um, I don't necessarily want to say it's a Dowdle game, especially with TP seemingly turning a corner, but it feels like a game in which we're really going to try to win it on the ground. Um, so yeah, I guess that's just my initial thoughts on the matter. But as always, when we talk about the offense, we've got to give our killers of the week. Um, and do you have anyone that you want to lead us off with for your killer of the
Yeah.
week?
He hasn't really been having the best couple run of games despite our offense being so good. I'm expecting him to hopefully turn it around. Jake Ferguson. I would love to see a little Dak. Of course, he hit that 35-yard seam route, which is looking more and more like kind of Dak's throw. Like I
That
don't
is
want
his
to
throw.
trademark it Dak's throw, but like
No,
that
that's his throw.
seam, yeah, that seam ball. I don't think anyone throws a better seam than Dak Prescott. Middle of the field's crucial. Establishing the run's crucial. Tight ends are key in the run game. You know what? Pancake and touchdown for Jake Ferguson.
What a stat call. A pancake and a touchdown for JSAP Ferg. Okay. I love it. Um okay, for my killer, I'm
That's a
gonna
clip
go.
that happens.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's definitely a clip for sure. Um, okay, my killer of the week. Hmm, well, it's tough. Um, you know what? We just kind of hammered on it. It's because I feel like our defensive side might be a little spicier, but I'll stick with old reliable. I'll say Tony Pollard. Um, again, establishing the run, winning this game in the trenches is going to be big. So I'm going to say Tony Pollard has a solid game. I'll say 80 yards and a touchdown on the ground this week. Um, and again, won or loss in the trenches. That's
Yeah,
pretty much all
reliable.
I got. All,
Yeah.
all I got.
Before switching to the defense, I have a great Cowboys offensive stat.
Oh,
Um, Before our ugly or our mediocre was in previous weeks Cowboys red zone offense.
mhm.
And in the last 26 Cowboys red zone offensive drives, 18 of them have ended in touchdowns. So we've fully turned the corner of our red zone. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, yeah.
Stat guy.
Red zone offense has not been an issue that we've been really harping on recently, which is good.
Good change of things for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Very, 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 very good change. Um, okay, so shifting over to the other side of the ball, our defense and Seattle's offense. So I guess the first thing, and I actually don't know the answer to this, but I'm assuming Kenneth Walker is not going to play this week.
I would be shocked. I would be
Okay.
shocked if he played.
Okay.
Then again, weirder things have happened, but
Of
I
course.
just would be shocked.
I agree. Okay. So when I look at this Seattle offense, without Kenneth Walker, I mean, that's their home run hitter, their explosive back. I mean, I mean, Kenneth Walker is a very solid back, second year guy out of Michigan State.
To answer your
Um,
question, not to cut you off, he did not practice again Tuesday,
okay.
and yeah, he didn't practice.
Okay, so it's gonna be Zach Charbonnet, who's kind of like, I guess, to look at the Seahawks, and for people who might be listening that aren't that familiar with the Seahawks, the way that they have Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker is kind of how we have Pollard and Dowdle. Like Charbonnet is going to be more of their their between the tackles, hard nosed power back. And he's very capable. This isn't like a knock on Zach Charbonnet at all, but losing or not having the threat of Kenneth Walker in a game like this, where you're going to Dallas, where the Cowboys have looked like absolutely unstoppable this year, it's a big player not to have for them. But on the flip side, their weapons are awesome. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Noah Fant. Um, that's a really solid offense on paper. Obviously, everyone knows about DK. I mean, the guy is a freak in more ways than one. I mean, he's an absolute stud, and I'm really excited actually this week to see Deron Bland on DK Metcalf. We know that DK is very, very physical, especially when it comes to blocking. Um, he is the guy that's not afraid to, do some chippy stuff and, potentially lose his head after the whistle. And we know that Deron Bland, kind of similar to how we talked about Devon Witherspoon on their defense, he's a very, very physical corner. He's not afraid to come up and make a tackle. So that's a matchup I'm really looking forward to. And I feel like we're gonna try to keep Gilmore kind of more on Tyler Lockett. I feel like that's a really good matchup. Just two really solid veterans, two guys that have been at it for a long time. So that'll be fun. Jackson Smith and Jigba, their rookie first round pick out of Ohio State, a guy that Spanky and I loved in the draft last year. He's been decent. He had the really awesome catch on Thanksgiving. Though I mean that catch was sick on the 10-year anniversary of the Odell catch, which the Cowboys did win that game, even though people conveniently forget that. Um, but The issue with Seattle's offense right now is their quarterback. Geno Smith, guy who up until last year he was a major draft bust for the Jets, bounced around as a journeyman quarterback backup with no, he was with the Chargers, he was with the Giants, then he came to Seattle and he backed up Russell Wilson. And, as he reminded everyone last year when they beat the Broncos in Seattle on Russell Wilson's homecoming, he said, they wrote him off, but he ain't right back though. Um, and unfortunately for Gino right now, especially, he is banged up right now with his elbow that he injured at the end of the Rams game when Drew Lock had to come in and did his typical just hilarious Drew Lock football where he just comes in and just overthrows guys and makes like really awesome incompletions, as Von Miller once said that he had like the best incompletion of all time or something like that. Still don't really know what that means, but um, just getting back to Gino, I mean, he's a guy that you expect better from him. Just especially considering the weapons at his disposal. He has not looked right this year. And he's been turning the ball over a lot. He did not have a great game on Thanksgiving. And with the way that our defense has been playing, specifically our secondary, I think this could be a week where, if we are able to get a lead and we have to force Gino to, drop back and beat us with his arm, I don't think he can do it. And I think that's where the 9.5 point spread could really work in our favor is that,
Yeah.
if we get like a somewhat decent lead, like a 9-10 point lead, that's when you could really see the Cowboys defense do what it loves to do and just pin their ears back and just get after them. O-line is for Seattle is a work in progress. They got mauled last week against San Francisco. Gino was getting destroyed, felt bad for him, but this is a game that I feel like for our defense, I don't think our run defense. I mean, obviously we're gonna love to see some improvement, but it feels like a game that's gonna be won and lost by um for our defense by the play of our secondary.
Agreed. And not to harp on your whole Geno Smith kind of tangent, Geno is actually a weird cornerback or weird quarterback to do some advanced analytical research on. He actually struggles against man coverage a lot. And the Cowboys are the most man coverage heavy team in the NFL. To go deeper into that, against man, he averages 3.6 yards per pass attempt. Against his zone, he averages 8.4 yards per attempt. That's I'm no mathematician, but that's more than half. Like he's more than 50% worse than against man than zone coverage. He's worse against the pressure. Breaking moves. Pete Carroll makes it sound that Abe Lucas, I'm guessing that's short for, will be his first start since week 1 after he went on an IR with a knee injury. Carroll also says he likes Cowboys legend Jason Peters at right tackle.
I forgot they have old man Peters. Yeah.
The weakness of the Seattle Seahawks offensive line is their right side, so I'd expect to see a lot of Micah Parsons on our left side, so as a left defensive end. This can easily be a game where, especially with Kenneth Walker out, I don't really fear Zach Charbonnet. Famous last words, of course. But Deron Bland on Metcalf. I like Deron. I'm gonna say I love Deron Bland on anyone at this point. I don't really give a shit.
Yeah.
Tyler Lockett and Stephon Gilmore, I both are aging. This is one of the more friendlier matchups for Stephon Gilmore.
Absolutely.
Tyler Lockett, I loved him coming out of Kansas State, but he clearly doesn't have that burst / that rack ability that he used to have that made him so good. And lastly, Jordan Lewis on Jackson Smith
Njigba. I think I got that name. Did I get that name kind of correct?
Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Njigba.
Yeah.
Honestly,
We'll just call him
I think this-
JSN going forward.
yeah, a wide receiver that, yes, he's a prolific rookie route runner, but it's like I want to say that he has the same exact measurables, even going to like 3-cone and 40-yard dash as Jordan Lewis. Like Jordan Lewis struggles with like the more physical, taller, bigger, faster, you name it. If you have a step on Jordan Lewis, you're probably making the catch. And I would argue that this is a friendlier matchup for Jordan Lewis too. I think the only scary matchup is when DK Metcalf lines up on any one of our corners. And knowing we don't travel our corners across the field, we're gonna see DK on Bland. We're gonna see DK on Stephon. So hopefully Malik Hooker has a great game cleaning everything up. But yeah, I think this is a game where the 9.5 line seems weird to me, but with the Dallas Cowboys and we're a great defensive team this year, we really just need to step on the necks of the Seahawks early. That might be a little vulgar for some of our AWLs, but our defensive line needs to just smother Geno Smith. His little Linsanity run over the past year and a half has been real fun to watch, but I even see some Seattle fans being like, we let Geno Smith stop us from drafting a rookie quarterback this past year. And, because the Seahawks had a pretty high draft pick, if I'm not mistaken. They have a top 10 draft pick and trade out. I want to say that's correct.
Oh, okay. Keep talking. I'll look it up.
But his little Linsanity run was cute and all, but it's like if Geno Smith is invoking fear into a defense, specifically invoking fear into your defensive unit, chances are you're not a top unit in the NFL. And
we're dumb, by the way.
What?
Okay, so they had the number 5 pick, because they had
5 and 8.
They had 5 and 20, and they took JSN at 20, but they had 5 because of the Broncos trade, and that's where they drafted Witherspoon.
So, I mean, hypothetically, they could have easily packaged those 2 firsts for a quarterback, but if they trusted Geno. I see some Seahawks fans. I snuck into their community, especially their Bleacher Report one, which is pretty funny, and was just kind of reading up on them. And so, like I said, if Geno Smith invokes any sort of fear into you, like you're in for a rude awakening for some of the quarterbacks we're facing down the line, especially come playoff time. So, I especially with Kenneth Walker out, Kenneth Walker being out is probably why the line shifted so significantly to 9.5 from 7. That makes the gears are starting to churn in my head. But yeah, I think this is a pretty friendly matchup. We tend to thrive against teams with shit offensive lines, and other than Charles Cross as their left tackle, who, I mean, middle of the pack left tackle for all I know. Like I haven't heard anything calling him elite or anything.
No, he's not elite.
He's solid, middle of the pack. Yeah. Middle of the pack, good serviceable lineman. Cowboys should feast. I would love to see that, especially with the way that DQ and Co are scheming up some plays. Should be a pretty nice game on defense. Maybe not one of those ones where you invite your baby mama or something to the game to watch from the stands and you give her a game ball after you force a turnover, but it's probably one of those games where if you have the Cowboys defense in fantasy, I would start them.
Yeah. And this is something that actually popped into my head because I went through this hypothetical with my dad on Thanksgiving when I was watching the Niners and Seahawks game. But the narrative around the Cowboys this year has been, especially the last 4 or 5 weeks, has been, the Cowboys still haven't beaten a good team yet, and they failed their 2 big tests in San Francisco and going to Philly, which is totally valid, and I don't really disagree with that per se, but the narrative is going to be if the Cowboys win this game, the Seahawks fall to 500, Seahawks lose to San Francisco next week, they're a 6-7 team, then the narrative is going to flip again, and people are going to be like, oh, Cowboys beat the Seahawks, but they're still not a good team. Like, they still haven't beaten a good team yet, which is just annoying. And there's a very good chance that if the Cowboys take care of business tomorrow, that's what the narrative going into next Sunday night against Philly is. And obviously that'll be another big test. But I mean, maybe I'm just reading too much into that, but that was just something that I kind of thought of, because I mean, I can just see the Twitter replies already after the Cowboys win on Thursday, and they're like, oh, they still haven't beaten a good team. So I feel like I'm just mentally trying to jump through hoops and prepare myself to just not be triggered when I see that, because I feel like it's inevitable, because the goalposts always move when you wear the star on your helmet. So but okay, let's do our hot boy picks, and then we'll give our score predictions and our cover zero, and then we'll finish up. But who do you have for your hot boy this week?
Damone Clark.
Oh,
We haven't really picked him in a while. I foresee him being like any other human being in the world that's related to the Dallas Cowboys right now, pissed off about the Shaquille Leonard news and being
right.
like, I'm going to play my ass off to show you if Shaquille Leonard signs with the Eagles, that Dallas Ballers Club's going to be like, yeah, you can have that washed up old man without a bet. Like we have Damone Clark.
Right.
So, you know what? For narrative purposes, Damone Clark.
Okay. I love it. For mine this week, man, that's a really good pick, actually. I don't want to pull a stew and say Donovan Wilson, although I'm almost tempted.
Now that you could pick another safety.
Yeah, I feel like we haven't heard his name in a while, which is a good thing if you're a DB. I mean, he hasn't really been getting picked on much. But I'm gonna say Malik Hooker. Is that who you were thinking?
Yeah, that's who I was
Yeah.
gonna. I was split between Damone and Malik.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with Malik Hooker. I mean, the splash plays like aren't there. I mean, I don't think he's had a pick since the Jets game. But like, again, with the depth that we have on this defense and the way that they've been playing, like, we don't need guys to be, Superman. Which is the good thing. But I feel like this could be a really solid Malik Hooker game where we hear his name called a decent amount. I don't know why. It's just a gut feeling. So I want to say that Malik Hooker is going to get a pick this week.
I love that. And kind of like how the Cowboys defense is aligned. He plays that middle third. It's kind of like comparable to the one tech, where it's like it's not a flashy position. It's the kind of nitty gritty position. You got to do your job, or our defense gets gashed. But one where you don't make a lot of highlight reel plays. So he does a lot of nitty gritty and is often overlooked, but he's had a sneaky great year.
Yeah, no, I agree. He's been another one of those unsung heroes, kind of like what we talked about with Jonathan Hankins, where I mean, obviously, when you're in a secondary with what Deron Bland has been doing this year, you're gonna naturally get overshadowed. But the fact that he's been the one safety that we on this podcast pretty much haven't bashed yet this year,
Yeah,
that's saying something. So shout out to Malik Hooker. He's having a really good year. He's graded out really well. He's been one of the better safeties in football, genuinely. And I'm looking for that to continue. Okay, so moving into our second to last thing here, we got to do our score predictions. I talked about it with Stu and gave the viewers like a little insight into our like little competition that we have going for just in terms of like spread and predicting things. So, just to catch you up to speed. So going into last week's game, you and Stu were tied at 2, and I had 1. Because we haven't counted losses, and then we forgot to submit picks for the Carolina game when we had RJ on. So it's 2-2 to 1, and then last week you had 34-17, I had 37-24, and Stu had 31-23. So I think you won. What was the final score last week? 30, 38,
wasn't
10?
it 40? We hit 40, I'm pretty sure.
Cowboys score versus Commanders. I just saw Siri. 45-10. Okay.
So I did win.
Yeah, so you did win. Okay, so you're officially leading now. You're in the
Yeah.
lead. You're at
Big
3.
ball knowledge.
Yeah, you're at 3. Stu's at 2, and I'm at 1. My only win, I didn't get my first win in this until week 10 against the Giants, which is tough.
For my score prediction, I'm going to say 33-20.
Oh wow. Okay.
Weird game.
Yeah.
Lots of field goals.
Okay. I like it. Okay. I'm gonna say, oh man, and this is where I struggle. Because since we're playing on Thursday Night Football, I keep mentally thinking that it's like, oh, short week, but we have, normal rest, normal prep. But I'm gonna say it's 30. What do I want to say here? 30. Gotta do the math. 30. Damn, I really like 33. What's the spread again? 9.5.
9.5.
Up to now. Oh my god! And we're gonna cover because we're at home. We have to cover. I'm gonna say 34 to
Heck.
34-24. Cowboys win.
Just cutting it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
My cover 0 takes. Just wrap. The boys are clearly tired. AWLs, as you can tell, we're starting to slow down a little.
Yeah, it's light. It's a light one.
I bet we get 5+ sacks this week.
Oh wow.
And I will be as ballsy to say 4 of them come from the right side of the Seahawks offensive line. Jason Peters, or a tackle that hasn't played since week 1 after an undisclosed knee injury, and one of the worst statistical guards in the NFL are on the Seahawks right side. So I think that's kind of like if that was a DraftKings boost pick, like it's probably like plus 9,000, and that's just like free. That's free.
Okay.
A wide receiver not named a pass catcher not named CeeDee Lamb gets 2 receiving touchdowns.
Okay.
That's an obscure kind of like a weird pick, some might say, but most say that have ball knowledge, that's like, oh, that's a sneaky pick. So
that is a sneaky pick. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll ride with that.
Yeah. Okay. You got any others?
Fine. I'll fire from the hip right now. Brandon Aubrey makes a 60+ yarder.
Oh my god.
Imagine. Imagine if that's a 3 for 3. Like right there, if you parlay all of that, that's $1 for generational wealth, people.
Okay, so just to recap.
I have one more that sounds pretty good in my head.
Okay. Well, you know what? This pod's all about just trial by error. So how about just fire it off and we'll see if it should have stayed in your head or not.
Yeah, I like Sam Williams to get over 1 sack.
Okay, that's I like that you said over 1 sack because he could get 1.5. Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that. Okay. I like that. Yeah. I'm glad that you decided to shoot that one instead of holstering it. I like that one. Okay. Um so I got a lot to try to live up to here. Um yeah, let's get bold. Jalen Tolbert, 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's a lock. Cooper Rush, 6 touchdowns, all rushing.
Yeah, Hendershot comes back,
Yeah.
500 yards.
Yeah, Hendershot takes a snap at Wildcat quarterback in the first
Yeah.
quarter. Okay.
Deuce Vaughn throws for 150
Yeah.
plus.
Yeah, Deuce Vaughn pick 6 over DK Metcalf.
Odell's, and then like on the way to the end zone is like too
Yeah,
small to DK.
yeah.
Just like the too small.
Yeah, rocks the baby as he's high stepping past DK. Okay. Okay. So some real picks here. Okay, so I already said Pollard is gonna get 80 yards and a touchdown. Which I do like, but oh man.
I'm gonna have a good one too. I kind of just thought of a good one.
Hold on, I'm cooking. Devontae Turpin, anytime touchdown scorer.
Love that. I love that. I love that a lot.
I'm gonna get that one out there first. God, what else? God, he took so many good ones. Oh, here's a name we haven't mentioned at all on the show today, so I'll just throw it out there and say, why not Michael Gallup touchdown?
You're spraying right now.
That's a lock. Dak rushing touchdown. I mean, primetime Dak loves to get rushing touchdowns, so that's a lock. Let's get one more lock for the people here. I already said Malik Hooker pick. It's free money, by the way, if you're listening.
Y'all, this is generational wealth if you put $1 on this right now.
Yeah. Let's give a defensive one here. Mozzie Smith gets his first sack of his career.
I love that. All
Okay.
right, and for the final,
Let's hear this
one,
one.
we have more rushing touchdowns than passing touchdowns. Although that doesn't go with my score prediction at all, or my other one. But we have more rushing than passing touchdowns. One of these are gonna hit, and then everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, like you guys went 1 for 8." Yeah, well, guess which one's getting posted on TikTok, my boy.
Yeah.
Guess which one?
And just for the record, I also forgot. So again, we did kind of have the script last week. So I had Devontae Turpin touchdown last week, and that hit. I also said that we were going to get a defensive touchdown, and I'm pretty sure I said on the pod that I was very close to picking Deron Bland, pick 6. Should have, but I didn't, unfortunately. Let's see. Wide receivers not named. Yeah, you had wide receivers not named CeeDee Lamb have a big week. Brandon Cooks had a big week. Michael Gallup did not get the back corner touchdown. But yeah, and then
that was pina colada me. You can't hold that against me.
That's fair. And Stu went over last week. A rare over by Stu.
He does, bro. What he does. Over
Yeah.
and then fakes.
Yeah, over and then just doesn't show up to record. So that's tough. Definitely not holding that against him or anything. So don't.
Mr. Stewart,
don't
if you're
think
listening to this, your son's a bomb.
Yeah. Tell your son that he doesn't need to watch every second of Baylor against Nichols State. And he can come record a pod and talk some ball with his good buds. But okay. You have anything else you want to add?
No.
Okay.
I was thinking about something else, and then you said it, and it just like didn't process for a little bit with me right now.
Yeah.
People, it's 10:24, and I was up at 6. Cut me slack.
Yeah. It's been a long day for the boys here. But okay.
To y'all. We
Yeah,
love the ULs.
We're dedicated, and just for the record, we are recording this on Tuesday, so when Stu inevitably gets it up like Wednesday night, don't hold that against me and David. We did what we could. We did our part.
You know what? I'm gonna light a fire under his ass right now. If there's any AWL that's good at hosting / editing, hit us up.
Yeah, Richard Harrison, the guy that one of our favorite AWLs. If you're good at video editing, hit us up. Follow us on our.
If you know someone that is good at editing, just hit us up. We'd love to have you on the pod.
Yeah, hit us up. Please let us know. And if you're gonna hit us up, please do it at our socials. Good segue there. At our X and TikTok are gonna be at Dallas BC Pod. Our Instagram. Instagram at Dallas BC Podcast. And again, Rich, if you're out there, feel free to email us, podcastdbc@gmail.com. Spanky and I are always checking that throughout the day. Still haven't seen those sponsorships roll in yet, but
it's normally just spam email. So Rich,
if you
want to brighten my days up.
Yeah, we will definitely see it. Trust me. The inbox is
Trust me on that one, Rich.
Inbox isn't that crowded. So yeah, we will definitely see it. And that doesn't go for just Rich, but for anyone. If you're out there, any sponsorship opportunities, we're open to it. So that's podcastdbc@gmail.com. As always, we are available to listen on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, whatever tickles your fancy. Let's go ahead and go listen there. But again, thank you guys so much for joining us today. I know it was kind of a longer one today, but we had a lot to talk about. And we will see you guys. Oh, sorry. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. And we will see you guys most likely next week, probably next Monday. Just with it being a weird Thursday schedule, we're going to try to get back into the normal routine next week. So look for us to be back on, I guess it'll be a later Victory Monday. Still riding high off the win, and we'll be recapping, talk about this win, and getting ready for Philadelphia. So thank you guys so much for joining us today. Come on, give her a real one.